it is the 22nd of July in the year 2022. You're listening to Rouser Radio out of the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, East Sussex. And it's much chillier than it's been of late. Quite a few degrees down there, in fact. And you can feel it. I'm Keith Hayes, this is Rouser Radio, and we are the precursor, if that's the right word, to Mirador Television, which comes on the air at 8:30. That you mustn't miss. This morning, we have from New York, Melissa Conti, our regular correspondent, to find out what's going on in the Big Apple. And we are compiling our team. It's becoming a very strong team. There is no form to it. It's as it happens. So you can dip in and dip out and get your jollies in any way that you want with Mirador Television. And we try very hard to give you some amusement, some information, and along the way, any bits and pieces that come by us. Right, okay. What do you think of that? Oh, that's very good. That's an endorsement, if you like. Right, and this morning in the White Hart is the beautiful Shannon is on deck, looking after me. But it doesn't matter which morning, because the three girls who take turns to keep watch in the early morning shift, Sally, Jane, and Shannon, are all very beautiful, very lovely, very lively, and very welcoming. Come into the White Hart first thing in the morning, and you get nothing but beautiful smiles and terrific first-class attention. I assure you. And at this hour in the morning, there are lots of interesting people around, aren't they? Worth a visit. Hey, it's worth a visit. And on a Friday, worth two visits. With some gratitude to the end of a sordid week. Sordid week. In which the pantomime in Westminster has got more mime than panto, and the shoveling of you-know-what onto the opponents has got worse. How the hell anyone could vote for any of these people in a general election, I have no idea. I'm not boosting Labour or Lib Dems. Lib Dems, of course, are crowing. They smell blood. What they're going to do is nobody's business. But they don't have much experience. And who knows who their leaders are. They've got to working on that. Right. So let's go to the papers this morning. And let me tell you something about humble pie. You've all heard the phrase, to eat humble pie. Well, it ain't humble pie at all. It's humble pie. And humble pie was, in the Middle Ages, the innards of the deer. The flesh of the deer, or venison, went up to the castle. The innards, the liver and the heart and the kidneys, all went to the peasants. And they made out of it what was called humble pie. And humble was the innards of the deer. So there you are. You just learned something, haven't you, first thing in the morning? But if we want to go to modern interpretation, humble pie, then the BBC is eating it in spades today. I don't know what triggered it, but let's kick off with the Daily Express. BBC, we let Diana down. We're going back. The BBC have paid damages to Tiggy Leg Burke, a former nanny to Princes William and Harry. The Daily Express reports that the damage relates to false claims that Miss Leg Burke had an affair with Prince Charles and an abortion. A statement read out in court said it was likely that these false and malicious allegations arose as a result and in the context of BBC and the context of BBC Panorama's efforts to procure an exclusive interview with Diana, Princess of Wales, in 1995. The famous interview with the guy whose name will come back to me in a minute, and who, incidentally, I understand, is still working or on a consultancy with the BBC. so much for humble pie. Right. The Metro. Well, first of all, it's got a strip banner. 9 million Raw on the Lionesses, who won 2-1. That was good news. They did very well. They came back from behind, and they stumped home the winner in injury time. But below is the Metro has gone the way of all papers. The BBC, we let Diana down. The Metro says the damages will be substantial and quotes BBC Director General Tim Davie saying, "We let Princess Diana, the royal family, and our audiences down." Well, surely they should have people a responsibility to make sure that those things don't happen at the time. I have to say, I didn't sit easily with the BBC. I was a loose cannon. BBC does not like loose cannons. So in my time there, I was always suspect. But we had some pretty tough characters who made sure that what you said and what you did was accurate and broadcastable. That started to let down in the 1970s and the 1980s, until in the end it poured over the top and caused immeasurable damage to the BBC's reputation, from which it tries to bounce back. Does it have a future? I doubt it. I think that with the way that television is going anyway, radio and television is going, and also with the fact that it's blown its chances, its opportunities, and shown poor judgment over a lot of things, is the days of the BBC, as such, are numbered. And actually, that sort of broadcasting is numbered. The sort of broadcasting that we can expect is daring and innovative stuff. No two stations the same. And I hope that you'll tune into Mirador Television and see what we're up to. Because we are different, all right. We are different, but we hope that we're a bit of fun and about the same time bringing you information. Information you wouldn't get anywhere else. He said, I must have my sip of coffee. Right. The Mirror. Well, it says Beeb, we let Princess down, but in very small print. And the main thing is cops must now charge the culprits. Right, okay, the main story is about Diana. And they're saying that those people who allowed what they call a shameful written interview, and it was with Bashir, of course, wasn't it? The reporter who actually got the interview and said broke all sorts of rules, told all sorts of porkies. And they say the cops must now charge those involved. And it wouldn't just be him. It wouldn't just be Martin Bashir. He would have had a team around him checking everything that goes on. So obviously, if they were checking, they are either checking very badly or they ignored what they found. And perhaps for once the Mirror is right. Let's charge these people. It's not often that you see people on media charged, but when we do actually cock up the way that this lot cocked up, then perhaps it is a recourse to law is the answer. The Daily Star, royal shame. BBC, we let Diana down. Plus Prince Charles, Prince William, the whiny bloke, and even the bloody nanny. That's a start. The BBC has had to say sorry to pretty much the entire royal family for selling porky pies. The Daily Telegraph. No tax cuts until next year, says Sumac. So the Telegraph stays on course for what can we expect from our new leader, whoever that may be. Sunak is sticking by his guns and saying, no, you can't expect immediate taxes, immediate cuts. We've got inflation, and inflation is the number one enemy. We've got to get inflation down. And actually, from an economic point of view, he is absolutely right. The point is that the inflationary prices that we're experiencing and the cost of living is actually eating into people's excess money, even not in excess money, into their living accounts. So how do you go about satisfying the public and making sure that they can actually eat and drink and sleep and have a shelter over their head with fighting inflation, which actually gnaws away at it inexorably? It is a tough one. And actually, whether it's Sunak or whether it's Truss who comes into power, then one of the things that they are going to have to face is a crisis. And Boris came into power and faced several crises. And actually, much as we lampooned him as being a buffoon and so on, he handled some of those crises reasonably well. How short our memories are. We forget. Well, we are likely to forget this one because whatever our new leader does, it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. Damned if you cut taxes, damned if you don't cut taxes. And that's the sort of situation that any leader is going to have to face. And I would suggest to you that what I'm really looking for is leadership qualities, not the ability necessarily to find a quick fix to some of the message that we're in, but leadership quality. And remember, we've still got a war going on. The latest from the Conservative Party leadership race is reporting that Chancellor Rishi Sunak has said he fears reducing taxes before next year would further fuel inflation, and accused leadership rival Liz Truss of misleading the public on the issue by promising immediate cuts. And in some ways, one is sympathetic to his message. The thing is that, as far as we're concerned at Mirador, is this man as Chancellor fumbled the ball with his two budgets. And really, in many ways, with the dire situation that was growing in the United Kingdom over the last 12 months, should have recognised that. So is he going to recognise such things as Premier? One asks the question, but not necessarily giving any answers. The Times, Truss and Sunak trade blows over the tax pledges. Well, they're having a go at one another. One would expect that, but not quite the vicious fights that have been taking place in this election. Taking over from Boris, who the day before yesterday put his fingers up and said, "You've got it now." I'm waiting on the sidelines for you to ask me to come back. Liz Truss has accused Mr. Sunak of peddling a failed economic policy that would lead to a recession and make it difficult for the Conservatives to win the next election. Is that what it's all about, winning the next election? I think not. I think it's about putting the country back on track. Maybe we should have a government of national unity for a little while, just to get us out of this mess. We did it during the war. Why can't we do it again? Because we go from crisis to crisis. And there's no question that what we should have is the best brains leading the country. And we've got very poor brains at the moment. We don't have the best. In fact, in some instances, we don't have any. The paper also says Liz Truss claims that the Treasury suffers from having an economic orthodoxy and being resistant to change. Now, I am always on about reform, that government should have reform, a word that politicians hate, and so do actually civil servants. Because, well, if you got it nice and cozy, are you going to actually reform so that you don't have it nice and cozy, or not as nice and cozy, or that nice and coziness is under threat? Of course you're not. So she's got a point there. The trouble is that any politician who tries to reform gets bounced by the others, who 650 of them, all sitting on the green padding in the House of Commons and going here, here, tut, tut, Mr. Speaker, aye. Yes, Mr. Speaker, aye. There is very little thought from them about what the country might need, what the country demands. The Guardian: Sunak goes on the attack over tax as Truss takes the poll lead. Well, it seems that Liz Truss remember that this isn't a public poll. This is for members of the Conservative Party, card-carrying members who get a vote to say who should be leader. And Sunak represents the strongest attack yet on Miss Truss's economic policies. He has reported saying a new analysis shows that the oil and gas industry has delivered £2.3 billion a day in profit for the last 50 years. It quotes the author of the study, Professor Aviel Verbruggen, saying the sum has been enough for fossil fuel companies to buy every position, every system, in order to delay action on climate change. Well, now we're getting somewhere. The old influence of money has been pounding around Westminster. Oh, come on, Keith. Did we really not think that that was the case? No. Morden's revenge, a new plot to stop Truss. The support of Trade Minister Penny Mordaunt, who was knocked out of the Tory leadership race in the final round of voting among MPs, is orchestrating a Stop Liz Truss campaign. The paper says Miss Truss may also face challenges from the chairs of some local Conservative associations, although polls show she, meaning Liz Truss, maintains a strong lead among party members. So the plot thickens. The Financial Times: the ECB, that's the European Central Bank, vows to avert a debt crisis as it lifts rates for the first time since 2011. The central bank in Europe has not put up rates for 10, 11, 12 years, and now is going to have to lift its rates to stop inflationary practices, but also to avert its own debt. Is that the case? In case the decision by the European Central Bank to raise interest rates by half a percentage point, that's quite a lot. The first rise for more than a decade, and more than twice the increase mooted by the bank last month. The paper quotes Christina Lagarde, another suspect figure, president of the bank, saying it was time to deliver after the Eurozone inflation hit a record high of 8.6% in the year to June. Well, so not just us at home. Can't blame that on Boris. The Daily Mail: Channel migrants landed in Britain with guns. Wow. At least 2 migrants who were flagged as possible security risks after arriving in Britain across the English Channel have absconded from their hotels without fingerprints or photographs being taken. The Daily Mail reports, the paper says, the claim emerged in a report written by David Neal, the Chief Inspector of Borders and Immigration, and he exposed an alarming litany of failures. So we got people running around with guns who came across the channel, pulled up on a beach, packed the guns into the holsters or whatever they do, and toddled off into the sunset. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The Sun, groveling BBC in big die payout, and it carries the story of the BBC's negligence in checking the Martin Bashir story on Diana, which led, some people believe, to the split between her and Prince Charles. And it then goes on to get celebrity stuff. Jade's son joins Enders. Well, that's earth-shattering. That really pleases me. Sun reports that the son of the late Big Brother star Jade Goody has landed a role in EastEnders. The paper says Bobby Brazier, 19, will join the cast as a mischievous member of the States family, or the Slates family, or the Slater family, and quotes him saying he's loving every minute of the process so far. Well, so he should. Pretty soft job. And you got a bit of job security in that, haven't you? So there we are. That is the front pages this morning. And a variety of things. No mention of the Ukraine war. Isn't that strange? And yet, that could easily become our next crisis. Because Vladimir Putin has said, you help my enemies, and you become an enemy to me, myself, and I will strike back at you. And since we've been helping his enemies, one wonders whether, in fact, plotting in the Kremlin is involving our sitting on the ground here with our hands under our thighs, our bums on green seats in the House of Commons, and letting the world go by. I'm not being alarmist. No, I'm not. This man is a determined autocrat. He is absolutely fixated with the greatness of the old Soviet Empire, of Russia, of the Russian Federation, which he wishes to restore. And he will go to any lengths to do it. And we have seen such ambitions before. And we have seen changes of government where everybody said, no, it won't happen. And so I think that we should be very careful about what we actually ignore. And the Ukraine war is something that has gone off the boil. It's gone off the radar. And it's about time, perhaps, that we brought it back. Oh, please. Let's see. What should we... Let's play Jazzy Frenchy, shall we? Yes. I like Jazzy French. Well, there we are. Jazzy Frenchy from Ben Sound. And we are grateful to the people of Ben Sound for allowing us to use their music for no cost until such time as we actually start to make some money. Never mind. We can't all be head over heels with cash pouring in, can we? Oh, no, we can't. And we're not. I'm unhappy to say. But we are slowly making our mark. We are at our 3,000 plus viewers and rising, despite the fact that Facebook has decided to penalise us for something which has absolutely nothing to do with us. But there we are. That is a silly nonsense where the computers take over. And if Parliament does not start to face some legislation, because it's not just Facebook, it's not just YouTube, it's like the phone companies and the water companies, the utility companies, and for that matter, government itself, where they use the computer to front load their activities instead of using them to backload. In other words, that we have humans running the shop and the computer is a very necessary and excellent aid. But we've abandoned any efforts whatsoever to run businesses with human effort and for human satisfaction and for human concern and for human worry and making sure that things are on the straight and narrow. We've abandoned that to using computers to save money, to increase profits, to do all sorts of things, and they are useless. Without the human touch, they are useless. And if we want to look at the basis of why the economy is so weak, then start to look at the corporate use, and for that matter, the government's use of computers. It's just so easy, isn't it, to push a button? But if you push the button and it can't do anything effective, what's the point? That's a good rant. It's 7:59. It's the 22nd of July. It is going to reach, it's cooler today. It's only going to reach 23. But this is a day of hanging back because next week it's going to on the rise again and not quite as hot as it has been, but it's still going to be hot, hot, hot. So be prepared. Now I'm just looking normally. If we've got bad news on the front pages, we should have good news on the back pages. Well, there is some mention of the Lionesses' win, some mention, but after that we are back to all the rubbish and the nonsense that goes on in the world of football. I'm like anybody else. I like to watch a good football match. I like to watch skill and tactics. I don't want to know that somebody has got a rubber band on his right foot, or that he cost X million and somebody is now challenging it. It's all a bunch of rubbish. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be told these things, but it's take the mail, which actually for journalists is not a bad paper. I know that a lot of people politically don't like the Mail, but nonetheless, it's not a bad paper. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of detailed text about football. Bloody hell. And all the good things that have been happening. All right, we get to page 7. Salt aims to shake up England's flat batting. Well, even that isn't not exactly positive, is it? Feisty Forest. Let's see. Feisty Forest mean business. The Greek owner adds Lingard to a £70 million fee. Nottingham Forest. More football. More football. This is ridiculous. I was homeless, then a refugee. Now I compete for England. Well, that's a bit better story. It's about a weightlifter. who is competing in the Euro 2022. Gloucester Slater, 33, is diagnosed with MND. Classy Jonas on the cusp of glory. That is in the Tour de France. Mixing a rugby story with the cycling story. Right, pub shares lose fizz as inflation spike takes its toll. Oh, the poor old industry has got itself into a right old mix. I think what it really needs to do is to go back to being pubs. It's my local, which is a nice local. It's run by a very nice family. I have no quarrel with it whatsoever. But it's gone on what everybody else has done is food. So it's become a mini restaurant. And all the old gang, if you like, that I could go in and stand at a bar and have a laugh and a giggle, they've all gone elsewhere. It seems to me that there's got to be some new thinking in the pub trade if it's not going to stagger from crisis to crisis. Let's see, the HSBC, the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, has become the first foreign bank in China to house a unit of the country's Communist Party in the latest concession to Beijing. Well, not a bit surprised. The Eurozone in first rate, Eurozone we already mentioned, in the first rate hike for 11 years. So that's the stuff that's not on the front pages. And it's an eclectic mix. And I suppose that we should be able to read things from it. But we won't. We won't. It's too detailed. It's too detailed, and it really, 5-6 pages on football is who reads this rubbish? If I read anything at all, it's because, like everybody, like knowing my birth sign, is I have a local favourite football team, which is Aston Villa. If I see Aston Villa come crashing across the headlines, I read about Aston Villa. I don't read about the rest. So basically, a very limited audience for all this stuff. Apart from which, I think that literacy isn't one of the strongest points of a football crowd, mainly because they use computers, which has destroyed the English language. Is OMG, oh my God, and LOL. Nobody can tell me whether that means lots of love or lots of laughs or whatever. You have to figure it out for yourself, depending on what else is in there in terms of the rest of the words that go with it. But since nobody else can read the rest of the words, what's the point? What a state we're in. What a state we are in. Never mind. Rouser Radio has had a lovely morning with you. We only go for 15 minutes. We did start bang on time. It is now 8:05, so we will be disappearing in about 10 minutes' time. So I'm going to play a kind of a party for the mini band. kind of a party from the many vandals. Let me say this about that. Meridor Television and Rouser Radio are both dedicated to supporting the high street. We are too small to make significant material contributions, but we have made the offer to each and every business on the high street, from the bottleneck or even above the bottleneck, and local people will know where we're talking about. The bottleneck up by St Anne's Church, right down to the tip of Cliff High Street, which is actually still Lewis High Street, but we call it Cliff High Street. Any business can come in and pop in and can tell us what they're all about. 10 or 15 minutes with a nice chat, without any expectation of recompense or whatsoever. We've made that offer, and nobody has actually taken us up on it yet, which shows that perhaps a lack of awareness by the people who complain the most about how the high street is trading, or they just can't be bothered, which is a great pity. But they are missing a trick, and we are trying very hard to support. Now, let me tell you about one of the businesses on the high street, because we use it as the works canteen. We pop over there for a quick nifty sifty, a quick tapas lunch, and that is the Rights of Man. And the Rights of Man is a lovely, lovely pub. I've known it for 20 years, 30 years in fact, and seen it change from run by a very decent old boy through being almost a nightclub for kids, to its present sedate position of being a reasonably good pub with good food, but enough of a bar to keep drinkers happy. And it is on the high street, and it's a terrific pub. I personally like the tapas. I like their patatas bravas. I like their prawns, and I like their garlic chicken. And I like a nice gin and tonic with it, and they provide all that. And you can, up until the winds start to howl, sit on their roof terrace, which again is a very pleasant experience. So, we're not denigrating any of the other pubs on the high street, and we will get around to them, but for the moment, we are saying support your local sheriff, or at least support your Rights of Man, named after, of course, the text of Tom Paine, rebel, soldier, fortune hunter, and the man who triggered the American Revolution, the American War of Independence. So we would recommend that, and we hope that it flourishes. And there is a very nice staff there. They do us proud. We're going to do just a little snippet, perhaps next week, on the pub, on Mirador Television, and to give it all the boost that we can. But we are also prepared to help any business on the high street, from just above the bottleneck, which could include Richard's sausages, and a couple of other new businesses I see starting up there, right down to the foot of Cliff High Street, there by St Thomas's, where you've got a number of interesting businesses, including also a very decent restaurant, I understand. I've never tried it, and perhaps we will. But nonetheless, that is our support to get the high street back working, get the high street back to attracting people in. And if I can make one suggestion to all the pubs, is go and look at each other's menu, because there is so much of a sameness. that there is often, if you're going for food, no point in going because you know what you're going to get. Fish and chips and sausage and mash. No, it's a bit better than that, but nonetheless, it is much of a sameness. And one of the delights of the Rights of Man is that their tapas is quite different to anything else that you will get. Now, within that, I have to recommend to you the White Hart Hotel because it is a place where people come in and just plop down. They don't even buy anything. But having a nice cup of coffee, or after 11:30, or is it 11 o'clock, having a nice drink of a glass of wine or a nice beer, and having a nice leisurely chat, is a lot of people have discovered it, and a lot of people haven't. So we would recommend it, because if you are talking about a nice staff, they have the best here. We've got, in the male category, we've got Steve and Wes, but in the female category, three wonderful ladies. Sally, who's the boss, Jane, who steers the ship, and Shannon, who is just so bubbly, you just want to hug her. And she's got a lovely, lovely smile. They all have got lovely, lovely smiles, and they look after you. So that's the beginning of our high street. Do come in and say hello. It's worth it. Shannon, Jane, Sally. Lurking in the background is Big Cliff, who is the big master, who runs the whole show. Well known, Cliff. A delightful guy. Okay, we got to go. We've rattled up our time allocation. So here we are with Ben Sound ukulele to play us out. We we have Toodly-toodly-doo. Toodle-pip.